next year we'll be able to be in our beloved temple ready to go.
Jonah Tova, and Happy New Year to our congregant family. Temple Ahavat Shalom rocks.
Wishing you a sweet and safe New Year. Put your masks on.
Be safe.
The Mazes and the Gleasons wish you a happy, healthy New Year.
To our temple family, from the office staff, President Taft, we wish you a sweet New Year.
Shana Tova.
Good morning, everyone. Boker Tov and Good Yontav. My name's Rabbi Matt Berger, and I welcome you to Temple Ahavat Shalom as we stream our Yom Kippur morning service. It's so wonderful to have all of you here with us. I'm joined on the bima with our soloist, Allison Rosoff. Tim Berneman is on the piano, and our cellist is Lowell Adams with the Florida Orchestra. We're going to begin with the singing of Return to Me, Hashivenu. This morning we'll be praying out of Mishkan HaNefesh, the Machzor, the High Holiday Prayer Book for the Days of Awe. Its translation, Sanctuary or Dwelling Place of the Soul. And the Shacharit morning service will begin on page 135. And feel free to join me in the English. We thank you, living and eternal one, for morning light, for the breath within us, for strength and life renewed. Now it opens before us, the Sabbath of Sabbaths, gift of spacious contemplation, mirror for the soul. May we see our lives reflected in this still, clear pool, a day apart, unhurried time, an undivided mind. Give us joy in this day that Israel shares. Give us presence and attention, clear vision, a listening heart. We wake to the morning, we open our eyes, we breathe your name. How beautiful are your tents. The words of Ma Tovu are found on 138. We'll continue now with the prayer for study, Lasok b'divrei Torah, found on 142. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, supreme power of the universe. You sanctify our lives with mitzvot and give us the sacred obligation of learning and living Torah. A prayer for our bodies, Asher Yatzar, is found on 157. A rabbi named Ben Azai used to say, "Treat no one with scorn. Regard nothing as useless, for all people have their moment, and all things have their place. Diamonds, when found in the ground, may look like worthless pieces of glass. It takes an expert to see the precious gem that is hidden within. Become an expert in human beings. Learn to see each one as a diamond in the rough. Baruch atah Adonai rofei chol basar umafli la'asot. Blessed are you, God, who performs the miracles of creation and healing." We'll continue on page 167 with David's Song of Praise, Psalm 145. Adonai, my sovereign God, I praise your name. Boundless is your glory. Compassionate and full of grace, deeply patient, gentle and just. Each generation sings of you, forever tells your story. Goodness and mercy extend to all. Hands open wide to nourish life. I celebrate your faithful love. Joyful forever, we sing to you. So we continue with words of praise, the Hatzi Kaddish, page 176. Rise for Shema and its blessings, beginning with the Baruch Hu, the call to worship. Continue together on 181. Like an unbroken current, energy streams from the source, bathing the planet in light, calling forth life, movement, mind unfolding from matter, the power to love. And we offer it back to you, our own creative energy, ever dreaming, building, shaping patterns out of chaos, searching out light in the darkness. Creation never ceases, not for an instant. All life is aglow with your light. All things draw sustenance from the source. Baruch atah Adonai yotzer hamaorot. Our praise to you, Adonai, creator of the lights of heaven. And on 183, this reading based on a commentary, a midrash. You love us by helping us grow. You give us Torah, a ladder for the soul. Words that draw us upward, every mitzvah an invitation to climb, forge and kiln and crucible to purify our hearts. You give us Torah, you love us by helping us grow. Continuing on the middle of 184, bring us in peace from the four corners of the earth. Lead us with upright pride to the land that is ours. For you are a God of miracles and wonders. From all the peoples of the earth you sought us out and brought us near to your great enduring truth. So with love we acknowledge and proclaim that you are one. Baruch atah Adonai habocher be'amo Yisrael b'ahava. Our praise to you, Adonai. You have singled out your people Israel with love.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Feel free to be seated. We'll continue chanting the words of the Shema. You shall love Adonai your God with all your might, mind, soul, and strength. Page 188 and following on 191. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu advarim ha'eleh asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha b'derech uv'shokbecha uv'kumecha וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך, ובישעריך, למען תזכרו, ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני, אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם, amen. On 192, we continue words of truth and faith. Emet v'yatziv. Feel free to join me. True and steadfast in this teaching, beloved and treasured, a source of wonder, a fount of goodness, a thing of beauty, and ours for all time. And true it is, the eternal God is our sovereign, the rock of Jacob, our protecting shield. Through all generations, God's name lives on. God's throne stands firm. God's dominion prevails. God's grandeur and faithfulness endure through eternity. God's words are precious. They will live forever. Mi chamocha, who is like you, our song for freedom, is found on 196.
Mi chamocha b'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nidar b'kodesh, norati lot ursei v'eleh, shira chadasha, shibiru yulin lishincha tzavat hayam, yachad kulam hodu v'imlichu ve'yamiru, Adonai imloch le'olam vaed.
Rock of Israel, arise and come to the help of your people Israel. Keep your word by redeeming Judah and Israel. The eternal and infinite one is our Redeemer, our source of holiness. Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. Blessed are you in our lives, Eternal One, who redeemed Israel. Now it's my pleasure and honor to call upon our temple president, Rick Katzef, to share an important high holiday message with you.
Good Yontif. I kind of feel, get the impression of now what the rabbi and Allison have to feel like presenting the services in a pretty empty sanctuary. But it's a pleasure to be here today. I want to share a little humor before my message this morning. Rabbi Jacob Reese was fed up with his congregation, so he decided to skip Yom Kippur services, the holiest day of the Jewish calendar, and instead decided to play golf. Moses was looking down from heaven and saw the rabbi on the golf course. Moses suggested God punish the rabbi severely. As he watched Moses saw Rabbi Jacob Reese playing the best game he's ever played. The rabbi got a hole-in-one on the toughest hole on the course, and again on the next hole. Moses looked at God and asked, I thought you were going to punish him. Do you call this punishment? And God replied, who can he tell? As we prayed together today virtually, hopefully we are finding our High Holy Day services are very meaningful as we are managing our lives during these difficult times. First, I want to share some important accomplishments during the past year. Number one, our temple continues to grow. Over the last 3 years, we've added more than 100 families. We're also getting a good start even in the pandemic, and we've welcomed several new families to our congregation. Our congregation currently has over 400 active families. Our goal is to provide for all ages that are spiritual, educational, and entertaining. The reason our temple has been successful over the years is due to our past beloved rabbis, Rabbis Jan Bresky and Gary Klein, who cultivated our temple's pathways for our congregation and provided leadership in the Jewish community. And now, where's Rabbi? He's back here. And now we want to welcome Rabbi Matt Berger to our congregation to bring new ideas, excitement, innovation, and continued success. Our temple's growth is an exception where many synagogues around the country are experiencing significant declines. During this past year, our temple has encountered significant challenges due to the pandemic. We have been tested big time, and unfortunately, we're not back to normal. Think about how the temple has adjusted from in-person services and activities to performing our services virtually. The temple prior to the pandemic had not previously considered streaming or Zooming services. Rabbi Klein, Gail Maller, Norm Kelton, Ed Marks, and many other key individuals stepped up quickly and began streaming our religious services, Zooming religious school, Zooming bar and bar mitzvah training, Zooming adult education, and general meetings. As you may recall, we had over 100 families attend our annual meeting virtually this past year. Our streaming started out a little rocky, but over time, and with the technical knowledge of Rabbi Berger, we have clearly moved to the next level. Our High Holy Day services speak for themselves as to how far we have come. Even though we've missed being together during these challenging times, there are some positives and flexibility that comes learning new technologies. Considering the future, grandparents who are not able to travel will still see their grandchildren, bar and bat mitzvahs, or other significant life cycle events. I'm excited about the future benefits we have learned. Thank goodness there are good aspects that come of challenging times. Another very important highlight of the year has been the help and the support of the Board of Trustees, our many volunteers, and our exceptional staff of Miranda, Gail, Elisa, Stephanie, Alex, Gimme, that have been flexible and dedicated to meet the temple's challenges. We have not missed a beat this year providing all the necessary temple services. It has been a challenging year, but I am proud to say we have exceeded all my expectations. Thank you, everyone, for making it happen. Undoubtedly, our most important accomplishment was recruiting our new rabbi. Fortunately, our search committee started the process in July of 2019 and completed our selection of Rabbi Berger in January 2020. Thank goodness we accomplished our selection before everyone's life has been turned upside down. Think about what Rabbi Berger and his loving family had to accomplish in the middle of a pandemic to get to Palm Harbor July 1. The Bergers had to sell their home in Woodlands, Texas, pack up their possessions, and drive halfway across the country and purchase a home in a very difficult and tight housing market. The Bergers got it done, and we are so happy to welcome them to our Temple Ahavat Shalom family. Bottom line, our temple has a strong foundation, and I'm very excited about our future. So hopefully you're getting the big picture. That's why this year's Yom Kippur appeal is so important. Most importantly, without a strong Yom Kippur pledge from each and every one of you, the temple will not be able to fund our operations. This is very important, so I want to repeat that. A strong Yom Kippur pledge from each and every one of you, the temple will not be able to fund our operations. Our temple Yom Kippur appeal funds 20% of our operating budget. Last year we raised $120,000. Thank you for your generosity last year, and we need your help again to meet our goal of $130,000 this year. In order to meet our budget, we need everyone to contribute a little more, at least 10%. So now, I would appreciate, please, if everyone would find their Yom Kippur pledge card that you recently received in the mail. So I'm going to give you a little time, so I'm going to do my little Yom Kippur dance. That's going to turn into a meme. Okay, maybe your card is on your refrigerator, maybe on your desk, maybe under your pillow, hopefully not in the garbage. Okay, hopefully you found your card. That's great. Now it's time to fill your card out. And please feel free to add an additional 0 or 2. That would be nice. Remember, we need everyone's help to meet our goal. Unfortunately, not being in the temple, I can't ask our ushers to pick up your pledge card. So my pledge to you, I'm willing to come to your house. Please call or email the temple office requesting that I pick up your pledge card. I will social distance, wear a mask, and bring a special treat and, of course, a personal thank you. You also have the option to mail your Yom Kippur pledge card, and if so, please mail your pledge card to the temple by October 1st. In closing, it has been my honor to serve as your president the last 2 years. This year being my third and last as president is special and important since I'll be working closely with Rabbi Berger during his first year. Matt has done an exceptional job getting oriented and getting to know the staff and our congregation, even during these pandemic difficulties. Rabbi's new nickname is Rabbi Zoom Golly Golly Berger. It was also a pleasure and honor to work with Rabbi Klein during his last year as our rabbi, which was very heartfelt, rewarding, and we can't thank Rabbi Klein enough for his contributions to our congregation. The nice thing with Gary, he didn't have to relocate to Florida to retire. Gary will be involved in his new role of Rabbi Emeritus. Our temple is well positioned to continue our growth, development, and being our second home. As we look forward, hopefully in the not too distant future, we will be able to see and greet each other at the temple for services and social activities. I also want to thank my First Lady, Elisa, who's been my rock, and I have received many compliments on my near Talmud messages over the years. And without Lisa's help, my messages would not have been the top quality that you enjoyed reading. Elisa, thank you for your help, support, and love. So from Elisa and I and our families, we wish you and your families a Lashana Tovah, a sweet, happy, and healthy new year. Thank you for all you do for the temple. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rick, for that incredible message, deeply meaningful. Thank you for your guidance during these first few months of my tenure and for guiding this congregation so ably and with such passion, devotion, and dedication. I guarantee you that little jig is going to be put into like a GIF or a meme or something like that. And I only tell you this because my little jig when the Tikiya Gedolah was happening, I don't know what I was doing, like something like this for Rosh Hashanah. Somebody showed me later on in the week that they made it into a GIF, so that's definitely going into a gift. And I like the new nickname too. Zoom Gali Gali Gali, Zoom Gali Gali, Zoom Gali Gali. It's pretty good. So we are going to continue. We're at the point in our service where we are going to turn to our standing prayers and the tefillah, where we stand before God. If you turn to page 198 in Mishkan HaNefesh, in your High Holy Day prayer book, you'll find the words to Adonai, open my lips, Adonai, sifatai tiftach. Let's rise.
Adonai, sifatai tiftach, ufi agita hilatecha. Adonai,
Feel free to be seated at this time as we continue with a meaningful prayer, beautiful prayer, Unatana Tokef, the power of this day, on page 208. Our sovereign God of pardon and forgiveness, let these words of sanctity ascend to you. Let us proclaim the power of this day, a day whose holiness awakens deepest awe and inspires highest praise for your dominion. For your throne is a throne of love. Your reign is a reign of truth.
Unatana Tokef, Kudeshatayom, Kihunora, Mayom, Uvotina se malachute.
join me? In truth, you are judge and plaintiff, counselor and witness. You inscribe and seal. You record and recount. You remember all that we have forgotten. And when you open the book of memories, it speaks for itself. For every human hand leaves its mark, an imprint like no other. On 2:10. And so a great shofar will cry, Tekiah. A still small voice will be heard. Angels in a whirl of fear and trembling will say, Behold the day of judgment, for they too are judged. In your eyes, even they are not blameless. All who come into the world pass before you, like sheep before their shepherd. As a shepherd considers the flock when it passes beneath the staff, you count and consider every life. You set bounds, you decree destiny, you inscribe judgments. Continue the power of this day on 2:13. An empty page, an open book, a day of ultimate questions. Will I still be here next year at this time with the ones I love beside me? What is in store for my family, and what will become of my friends? Who will have reason to celebrate? Who will contend with grief? New love, new babies, marriages deepening or breaking apart, prosperity, struggle, reversals of fortune, illness, and health await us. Who will be missing when we gather next? Who will stand apart? Who will be estranged? And who will have joined us, enriching our community? On the edge of the unknown, we tremble. What lies ahead for us all? An empty page, an open book. Nothing is written and nothing is sealed. Flesh and blood, frail creatures, our lives are fleeting and subject to chance. Yet this we possess, the strength to persist, to prevail, to comfort one another in the dark. Prayer, right action, a turning toward the good. These give us hope and help us bear the pain of life. Continuing on 2:16, we who are mortal, our origin is dust, and so is our end. We wear out our lives to get our bread, like broken vessels, like withered grass, like a flower that must fade, a shadow moving on, a cloud passing by, mere dust on the wind, a dream that flies away. Please rise now as we continue with the Kiddushah, holiness, found on 2:18 and 2:20.
נקדש שמך בעולם, נקדש שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך,
be seated. Let's continue now on page 227 with a beautiful teaching by the great sage Maimonides, Moshe ben Maimon, the righteous of all nations. This teaching found in his laws of Teshuvah, Hilchot Teshuvah, laws of return. Our sages teach the righteous of all nations have a place in the world to come. And Scripture says, "My house shall be called a house of prayers for all peoples. So let them be blessed, all those who pursue justice and act with compassion, those who give strength to the Jewish people and help to build our future, cherished family and friends, allies and supporters. With gratitude and love, we give them praise." Continue on 228. Kadosh ata v'norah shemecha. You are holy, your name is awe. There is nothing divine beyond you. As the prophet Isaiah taught, the source of all might is exalted through justice, the God of holiness made holy through righteousness. Baruch atah Adonai hamelech hakadosh. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy sovereign. For the holiness of this day, Kedushat Hayom, we continue on 232. Feel free to join me if you'd like. Our God and God of the generations before us, may a memory of us ascend and come before you. May it be heard and seen by you, winning your favor and reaching your awareness, together with the memory of our ancestors, the memory of your sacred city, Jerusalem, and the memory of your people, the family of Israel. May we be remembered for safety, well-being, and favor, for love and compassion, for life and for peace on this day of atonement. Zochreinu Adonai Eloheinu bo letovah, ufokdeinu vo livracha, v'hoshienu vo lechayim. Eternal our God, remember us, be mindful of us, and redeem us for a life of goodness and blessing. Our words of prayer continue on 238. Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu be'amcha Yisrael. Eternal our God, your people Israel yearns for your favor. Receive their prayer with loving acceptance, and may you always desire your people's worship. Divine One, close to all who call upon you, bring your grace and presence near to those who serve you. Pour forth your Spirit on us, and may our eyes see your merciful return to Zion. Baruch atah Adonai hamachazir shechinato l'tzion. Blessed are you whose divine presence is felt again in Zion. Beautiful poem entitled Tiny Joys by the Israeli poet Rachel is found on 243. Tiny joys, joys like a lizard's tail, a sudden sea between two city buildings in the west, windows glittering in the setting sun, everything blessed. Everything blessed, a consoling music in everything mysteries and hints, in everything waiting for chorals of beautiful words to be strung by the imagination on its string. Baruch atah Adonai hatov shimcha uchana'eh lechodot. Blessed are you, Adonai, whose goodness deserves thanks and praise. Continue now with a threefold blessing, Birkat Kohanim, page 244.
Adonai
May God bless you and protect you. May you receive the light of God's kindness and grace. May God bestow favor upon you and give you peace. Continue now with a prayer for peace. Birkat Shalom, page 246.
Sim shalom, sim shalom, sim shalom, tova uvracha, china chesed v'rachamim aleinu, v'yakov yireh shamecha, sim shalom, sim shalom.
Let us and the whole family of Israel be remembered and inscribed in the book of life. May it be a life of goodness, blessing, and prosperity. May it be a life of peace. Baruch atah Adonai oseh shalom. You are the blessed one, eternal source of shalom. Let's now take some moments for our own reflections and prayers. Please rise now as we open the Ark, continuing with Avinu Malkeinu, Almighty and Merciful, page 252. Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Kolenu. Avinu Malkeinu, Almighty and Merciful, hear our voice. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu Lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, we have strayed and sinned before you. Avinu Malkeinu, Chamol Aleinu ve'al Olaleinu v'tapenu. Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and our families. Avinu Malkeinu, Kalei Dever v'cherev v'ra'av me'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, halt the onslaught of sickness, violence, and hunger. Avinu Malkeinu, Kalei kol tsar umasin me'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, halt the reign of those who cause pain and terror. Avinu Malkeinu, kotvenu b'sefer chayim tovim. Avinu Malkeinu, enter our names in the book of lives well lived. Avinu Malkeinu, chadesh aleinu shana tova. Avinu Malkeinu, renew for us a year of goodness. Avinu Malkeinu, malei yadeinu mi berchotecha. Avinu Malkeinu, let our hands overflow with your blessings. Avinu Malkeinu, harem kerem mishichecha. Avinu Malkeinu, let our eyes behold the dawn of redemption. Avinu Malkeinu, na'ah teshivenu rekam milfanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, we pray, do not turn us away from you with nothing. Avinu Malkeinu, kabel berachamim uvratzon et tefilatenu. Avinu Malkeinu, welcome our prayer with love, accept and embrace it. Avinu Malkeinu, aseh imanu lema'an shemecha. Avinu Malkeinu, act toward us as befits your name. Avinu Malkeinu, aseh lema'ancha im lo me'anenu. Avinu Malkeinu, act for your sake, if not for ours. Avinu Malkeinu, ein lanu melech ela ata. Avinu Malkeinu, you alone are our sovereign. Avinu Malkeinu, petach sha'arei shamayim litfilatenu. Avinu Malkeinu, let the gates of heaven be open to our prayer. Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Kolenu, Chus v'rachem aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, hear our voice, treat us with tender compassion. Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu va'anenu, ki ein banu ma'asim, aseh imanu tzedakah v'chesed v'hoshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, Almighty and Merciful, answer us with grace, for our deeds are wanting. Save us through acts of justice and love.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu v'aneinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu v'aneinu, ki ein banu ma'asim, aseh banu tzedakah v'chesed, aseh
We remain standing for Seder Kriyat Torah, the Torah service, as we read on page 256, God's 13 attributes. Adonai Adonai el rechum v'chanun, erech apayim v'rav chesed v'emet, noser chesed la'alafim, noser avon v'fesha v'chata'a v'nakeh. Adonai Adonai, God compassionate, gracious, endlessly patient, loving and true, showing mercy to the 1,000th generation, forgiving evil, defiance, and wrongdoing, granting pardon.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai devarim, al shosha devarim, al shelosha devarim, olam omed, al shosha devarim, al
Feel free to be seated.
shosha devarim, al shelosha devarim, olam omed.
We thank Brad Wexler for removing the mantle and the accoutrement, the clay kodesh, holy objects from the Torah scroll. And at this time, always good to make sure we're in the exact right place we need to be. Bingo. All right, so this is an absolutely great special Torah reading for Yom Kippur. Nitzavim, it's kind of like a roll call, saying that all of us are here, we're standing together as one community to hear God's word, to accept the mantle of our heritage, of our tradition, and then always to go forward from strength to strength. We'll have two Torah readings from Deuteronomy 29, beginning with verse 9, and Deuteronomy chapter 30, beginning with verse 11. In the Torah portion, Nitzavim. It's my honor to call forward at this time for the honor of the Aliyah La Torah, Ron Gilbert, and Debbie Kaplan will be our first Torah reader. Yamod Chanoch Shlomo ben Zayach Leib La Aliyah La Torah. Just bring the mic over.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach. Baruch Adonai hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher ba'acha banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Atem nitzavim hayom kulhem lifnei Adonai Eloheihem Rosheihem Shivteihem, Zikneihem, Vashotrehem, Kol Ish Yisroel, Taphem Neshehem, V'geiraha, Asher B'keref Mahaneha, Mehotei Veitzeha, Ad Shoev Meimeha, La'avraha, Bivrit, Adonai Elohecha, Uvalato, Asher Adonai Elohecha, Koreit Imha Hayom, Laman Hakimotha, Hayom Lo Leam, Vahu Yelach, Lelohim, Ka'asher Diber Lach, V'ha'asher nishbach la'avotecha LaAvraham, LaYitzhak, UlaYaakov. V'lo ethem levadhem Anohi, koret et habrit hazot v'et ha'alah hazot, ki et asher yishno po imanu omed hayom lifnei Adonai Eloheinu v'et asher enenu po imanu hayom.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah temed, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu, Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen. Everyone, let's say Yasher Koach, strength to Debbie for a beautiful reading from Nitzavim, and Ron for his Aliyah. We're going to do a little bit of a switcheroo. No, you're in the right place, trust me. Just stay where you are. We're going to put the talit over the Torah as we offer a prayer of healing. There's the yad. You'll find the words to Misha Berach on page 273 as we call to mind and to heart members of our community and beyond who are in need of strength and healing. We think of Laura Barnett, Joanne Beeman Feidelman, Herb Bloom, Selma Bowman, Sarah Brown, Roy Bryant, Marcy Bunn, Linda Cohen, Eddie Deerfield, Matthew Deinhardt, Wendell Deinhardt, Edie Eckber, Evelyn Edelman, Lydia Feinberg, Heather Felser, Linda Fine, Harry Fleisch, Myra Friedman, Mitchell Freifeld, Mark Gittimer, Michael Goudet, Leah Gottlieb, Glenda Greenman, Kenny John, Carrie Kaufman, Lou Quall, Elaine Lapin, Faye Malkin, Paulette Markowitz, Jonathan Marks, Aaron Mailer, Paul Messina, Marcia Mollet, Sandy Morganlander, Alan Morgenstern, Alan Nassiter, Bella Uziel, Danny Pilder, Teresa Reese, Bob Rosen, Hal Rosenberg, Reese Rosenthal, Stephanie Ross, Andrew Schiller, Mark Schwartz, Lori Sarah, Mark Sarah, Andrew Shapiro, Betty Sharp, Desmond Silva, Mary Sivan, Sue Schoenbaum, Jeff Starr, Nan Strauss, Benjamin Turner, Rich Ulrich, George Wend, Michael Yannick, Elaine Zagelbaum, Hinribs. If there are any of the names to add for healing at this time, feel free.
Limor
My pleasure now to call forward Jory Kaplan, who will be joining Debbie for our second Aliyah La Torah. Tamdu Tova Bat Yosef, Yosifa Bat Yosef La Aliyah La Torah. And Ron Gilbert will be with his beautiful bass voice. You have a radio voice there, my friend.
Thank you, and all.
Baruch Adonai Hamarach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai Hamarach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Ki ha-mitzvah hazot asher anochi mitzavecha hayom lo neflihi mimcha v'lo rochoka hiv lo vashamayim hiv lemor mi'aleh lanu hashamayma v'ikechecha halanu v'yashmienu ota v'nasenam V'lo me'ver layam hiv lemor mi'avar lanu elever hayam vayichachecha halanu v'yashminu ota v'nasenam ki karov elecha hadavar me'od b'ficha v'yovavecha lasoto re'ehi natati lefanecha hayom Et hachayim ve'et hatov ve'et hamavet ve'et haram asher anochi mitzavecha hayom li'ahavav et Adonai Elohecha la'lechet birachav lishmor mitzvotav v'chukotav u'mishpatav v'hayita v'ravita u'verachecha Adonai Elohecha ba'aretz asher tavashama l'rishtam v'imneh levavecha v'lo tishma v'nidata v'ishtahavita l'Elohim acherim ve'advatam higati lachem chayom ki oved tovedun lo tachirun yamim al adamah asher toved et hayardein lavo shama l'rishta hayudoti vachem chayom et hashamayim vet haaretz hachayim v'chamavet natati lefanecha habracha v'aklala v'rakata b'chayim l'man tiyeh ata v'zarecha Le'ava et Adonai Elohecha lishmo b'kolo uv'dakavo ki hu hayecha v'yorek yamecha l'shevet al adama asher nishba Adonai la'avotecha li'avraham v'yitzchak Yaakov lateh lachem.
Asher natan lanu Torah temet, v'hayeh olam nata b'tochenu, Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Let's all say Yasher Koach. Wonderful, wonderful reading. The Spirit moves through you. Excellent. Penny Barna is going to be reading an adaptation of the Torah translation.
roll call, leaders, tribes, elders, officers, each Israelite, and we mean each and every Israelite, babies, women, resident aliens, laborers of all sorts. Each one of you present is joining in a promise with God today. This is the same promise that Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah, Jacob, Rachel and Leah, and all of their children all made. But it can't be a long ago promise alone. It has to be in your mouth like a piece of candy, like running shoes on your feet. Joining God's promise itself gives you the energy to fulfill what you've promised. In fact, the promise is right under your solar plexus, as steady as the beat of your heart. All you have to do is make the right choices when choices come along. If life and death come before you, choose life. If good and bad come before you, choose the good. If a blessing and a curse come before you, choose the blessing. Seek life, justice, goodness, and blessing, and your days will be filled with the pursuit of God's most precious creation, peace.
Thank you so much for that wonderful translation, very uplifting. Speaking of uplifting, let's rise for the lifting of the Torah scroll. I'd like to call Brad Wexler once again. He'll be dressing our Sefer Torah scroll.
וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל, אבי אדוני ביד משה. לי 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 וזאת התורה ששם משה לפני בני ישראל, אבי אדוני ביד משה. לי 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 לי
On page 276, there is a wonderful introduction, a commentary to the Haftarah selection from the Nevi'im, from the prophets. Isaiah 58 is today's special Haftarah portion. Isaiah is called by God to address the people with a powerful sermon that will resound throughout the community as the ram's horn summon ancient Israel to battle or sacred assembly. His words are intended to be as discordant as a shofar blast, shattering complacency and disrupting the normal ceremonies of the holy day. The prophet notes ironically that God pays no heed to the people's ritual acts of fasting and prostration. Their hypocritical displays of piety fail, as it were, on deaf ears. Only if these rituals are accompanied by humility, generosity, and care for the needy will God hear the worshipers and attend to their call. Penny Barna is going to be leading the Haftarah blessings, which are found on page 275, and then you'll be able to watch the video of Michelle Gordon chanting the selection from Isaiah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher barucha b'nbiim tovim v'ratzav v'devreihem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habachir b'Torah uv'Moshe avdo uv'Yisrael amo uv'nbiei ha'emet v'tzedek.
Kra b'garon, al tachshoch kashofar, harem kolecha, v'haged la'ami pisham, u'leveit Yaakov chatotam. Ve'oti yom yom yidrashun, v'da'at darchei yichatzun. Kegoy asher tzedaka asa, u'mishpat Elohav lo azav, yishaluni mishpatei tzedek, kirvat Elohim yichatzun. Lama tzamnu ve'lo ra'ita ininu nafshenu, ve'lo teda hen b'yom tzomchem, timtzeu chefetz, v'chol atzvechem timgoshu. Hen lariv umatzah tatsumu, ilu hakot be'egrof. Rasha lo tatsumu chayom lahashmiya b'marom kolchem. Hachazeh yiyeh tzon evcharehu, yom anad adam nafsho. Halachov kagmon rosho, v'sakva efer yatzia, halazeh tikra tzon, v'yom ratzon ladonai. Halazeh tzon evcharehu, pateach hartzubot, rasha ater agudot motah, v'shalach ratzitzim chofshim, v'chol motah tenateku. Halo horos l'ra'ev lachmecha, v'aniyim merudim tavi vayit. Ki tireh arom bechisito, umi besarecha lo titalam. Az yibaka kashachar orecha, ve'aruchatecha mehera titzmach, ve'halech lefanecha tzidkecha, kevod Adonai yasfecha. Az tikra v'Adonai ya'aneh, tishava ve'yomer hineni, im tasir mitochacha motah, shlach etzba v'daber aben. V'tafek l'rav nafshecha, v'nefesh na'ana tashbia, v'zarach b'choshech orecha, v'afalatecha katzoharayim, v'nachachach anai tamid, v'hishbia v'tachtzachot nefshecha, v'atzmotecha yechalitz, v'hayita kegan rave, v'chmotza mayim asher lo yichzavu meimav, uvanu mimcha charvot olam, mosdei dor v'dor tekomem, v'kora lecha goder feretz, Misavev netivot lashavet, im tashiv mishabat raglecha, asot chaftecha beyom kodshei v'karata l'shabat oneg, likdosh Adonai mechubad, v'chibadato, ma'asot darchecha, mimtzo cheftecha v'daber davar, az titanag al Adonai, v'hirkavticha al b'matai aretz, v'cha'alticha v'nachalat Yaakov avicha, ki pi Adonai tiber.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam tzor kahol olamim tzadik b'chol hadaros ha'el ha'ne'eman ha'omer v'yoseh hamdaber umkayem shekol divarav emet v'tzedek al ha'torah v'al ha'avodah v'al ha'nevi'im v'al ha'yom ha'kippurim ha'zeh Shana tatalanu Adonai Eloheinu limchila v'lislicha uchapara v'chavod u'tifares. Al hakol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim lach umforchim otach yisbarach shimcha pirfi cholchai tamid li'alam v'ed udvracha emet v'chayim la'ad Baruch atah Adonai Melech mochel v'soleach la'avonosenu v'la'avonos amo beis Yisrael. Uma'avir eshmosenu b'chol shana v'shona. Melech al kol haaretz, Mekadesh Yisrael, V'yom HaKippurim.
Amen. Thank you so much. And thank you, Michelle, for the beautiful reading of the Isaiah passage. Brad Wexler is going to be sharing an adaptation of a translation of this selection.
It is not enough to stop eating and stop drinking on Yom Kippur. This is not enough for God. We must stop fighting and stop arguing. We must stop being selfish and stop criticizing. Then will we have truly fasted and will we have made room for life, for God in our lives.
And we thank everyone who has come up for an honor with wishes for a happy, healthy, and sweet new year. Thank you so much for your participation. Please rise now as we return the Sefer Torah to the Ark. The liturgy is found on page 291. A precious teaching I have given you, my Torah, do not forsake it. A tree of life to those who hold it fast, all who embrace it know happiness. Its ways are ways of pleasantness, and all its paths are peace. Take us back, Adonai, let us come back to you. Renew in our time the days of old. Feel free to be seated. At this point in our service, we turn to words of confession and forgiveness, vidui, followed by slichot, beginning on page 296. Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, tavo lefanecha tfilatenu. Our God and God of all generations, may our prayers reach your presence. And when we turn to you, do not be indifferent. Adonai, we are arrogant and stubborn, claiming to be blameless and free of sin. In truth, we have stumbled and strayed, we have done wrong.
Avinu, Ashanu,
Shinu Orech.
Ay, 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 ay.
Rashanu,
Shichatnu, Tiavnu, Tainu, Titanu, Ay, 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 ay.
Continue reading the translation in the collective. Of these wrongs we are guilty. We betray, we steal, we scorn, we act perversely. We are cruel, we scheme, we are violent, we slander. We devise evil, we lie, we ridicule, we disobey. We abuse, we defy, we corrupt. We commit crimes, we are hostile. We are stubborn, we are immoral. We kill, we spoil, we go astray. We lead others astray. Our confession, our vidui, continues on 300. For these sins, O God, we ask forgiveness. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha be'ones uvratzon, ve'al chet shechatanu lefanecha be'yodim uvlo yodim. The ways we have wronged you under duress and by choice, and harm we have caused in your world, consciously and unconsciously. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha bivli da'at, ve'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'ritzat raglim hara. The ways we have wronged you through our thoughtlessness, and harm we have caused in your world through impulsive acts of malice. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha bechozek yad, ve'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'zilzul horim umorim. The ways we have wronged you by abusing our power, and harm we have caused in your world through disrespect to parents and teachers. Page 302. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'yetzer hara, ve'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'kashyut oref. The ways we have wronged you by giving in to our hostile impulses, and harm we have caused in your world through inflexibility and stubbornness. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'chachash uvchazav, ve'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'kalut rosh. The ways we have wronged you through lies and deceit, and harm we have caused in your world by making light of serious matters. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'siach sfotenu, ve'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'tzarut ayin. The ways we have wronged you in our routine conversations, and harm we have caused in your world through envy. Ve'al kulam elohas slichot, silach lanu mechal lanu, kaper lanu. For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement. Continuing on page 304, Al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'galui uvasater, ve'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'sinat chinam. The ways we have wronged you openly and secretly, and harm we have caused in your world by hating without cause. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'frikat ol, ve'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'machal uvmishteh. The ways we have wronged you by losing self-control, and harm we have caused in your world through consumption of food and drink. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'gilui arayot, ve'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'imutz halev. The ways we have wronged you through sexual immorality, and harm we have caused in your world by hardening our hearts. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'neshek uvmarbit, Ve'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'masa u'v'matan, the ways we have wronged you through greed and exploitation, and harm we have caused in your world through dishonesty in business. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'hirhur halev ve'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'chilut, the ways we have wronged you through our innermost thoughts, and harm we have caused in your world through gossip and rumor. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'chapat shochad, ve'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'chilul Hashem, the ways we have wronged you by offering or accepting bribes, and harm we have caused in your world by profaning your name in public. Ve'al kulam elohas slichot, slach lanu mechal lanu, kaper lanu. For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, and lead us to atonement. One Sunday morning, at the end of religious school, the rabbi of the congregation saw a young student standing outside the classroom, waiting for her parents to pick her up. The rabbi noticed that the student had a big storybook under her arms with the title, Jonah and the Whale. He was intrigued, so he knelt down beside her and began a conversation. "So, what's that you have in your hand?" he asked. "This is my storybook about Jonah and the whale," the student answered. The rabbi responded, now tell me something. Do you believe that the story about Jonah and the whale is real?" The young student stood tall and said, "Yes, Rabbi, of course it's true." The rabbi then asked, "You believe that Jonah was swallowed by a whale, stayed inside the fish's belly for 3 days, and came out of there without a scratch on his body?" The student answered, "Absolutely. The story's in the Bible, and we learned it in religious school today." The rabbi placed a hand on his chin. "Well, then, can you prove that the story is true?" She thought for a moment, furrowed her brow, and said, "Well, Rabbi, when I get to heaven, I'll just ask Jonah." The rabbi nodded. And with a grin, he asked, "Well, what if Jonah's not in heaven?" The young student put her hands on her hips, and with a defiant look, she said, "Rabbi, then you can ask him." It's a good one. I remember reading the story of Jonah, which is often read on Yom Kippur when I was a kid. At some point, I probably brought home a big storybook from the synagogue library, just like that young student. I thought the story of Jonah was great. An amazing tale that taught a lesson. No one can hide from God. When I was a young adult, I understood the story a bit differently. This time I thought Jonah was teaching me it's never too late to make a change. Now, as an adult, I appreciate the story for another reason altogether. I like Jonah because as a human being, he's relatable. All of us know people like Jonah. At times, we may have acted just like Jonah, running away, trying to avoid a problem. But we usually come to our senses and find the courage to meet our challenges head on, just like Jonah eventually did. Jonah's a biblical hero, but he's singular and unique. Abraham was known for a remarkable faith. When God asked him to offer his son Isaac, the one he loved, he woke up at the crack of dawn, raring to go. Moses was known for his humility, his strength of character, not to mention his savlanut. He had more patience than anyone. But Jonah, his first instinct was to run. Most of us remember that Jonah didn't want to be a prophet. He ran away from God and spent 3 days in that fish's belly. After fearing for his life, he offered a heartfelt prayer and was released. At that point, God could have just nipped the story in the bud and said, "Okay, Jonah, you gave it a good college try, but you ran away. You failed. Now I'll send another prophet to ask the city of Nineveh to repent. But that's not what happened. Instead, we have a book in the Bible called Jonah. Because God chose to forgive Jonah, and God continued to trust Jonah. Think about it. How often in life do we get a second chance? And how often do we give others a second chance? When a friend is a little less than loyal, will we stand by them? When a family member hurts us, will we choose to trust them again? When someone makes a mistake at work, at school, or at home, will we give them the opportunity to do better the next time? The story of Jonah is essential reading on this day, Yom Kippur, because at one time or another, we've been like Jonah. Our sages have taught each of us has 3 names by which we're called in our lives. The one that our parents call us, the ones that other people call us, and the ones that we earn for ourselves. And the best name of all is the one we earn for ourselves. Our name can tell other people a lot about who we are and where we came from. For instance, my name is Matt, which is the English version of Matityahu, the Hebrew word meaning gift from God. Obviously, some people call me Rabbi, which means teacher, or Rabbi Matt. My kids call me Abba, which means dad. My mom is the only one who calls me Matthew, and she's allowed to do that. And my Hebrew name has 3 parts: Hillel, Meir, Leib, which means praise, light, and heart. So let's learn about Jonah's name. In Hebrew, Jonah is Yonah, which means dove, like the dove that Noah sent out after the flood to see if there was any dry land. Rabbi Steve Bobb, in a wonderful book, Jonah in the Meaning of Our Lives, makes a great connection about the link between Jonah's name and his life story. He writes, "The dove represents the possibility of a new beginning. From its first venture, the dove returns, having failed to find dry land. Yet the dove succeeds on its second try, returning with an olive branch in its beak. Jonah also succeeds on his second try." The biblical text then tells us the second part of Jonah's name, which is Ben Amittai, which means the son of Amittai. The Hebrew word Amittai is similar, the root of emet, which means truth, but there's irony here. In the beginning of the story, Jonah didn't tell the truth. In fact, as we'll soon see, he waited until the very last possible moment to share the true nature of his mission with others. Yet for all of his running and for all of his falsehoods, Jonah is still considered a prophet. So there must be more to Jonah than meets the eye. The poet Zelda may well have had Jonah in mind when she wrote her beautiful poem, L'chol ish yesh shem. She writes, "To every person has a name that God gave him, in which his father and mother gave him. And every person has a name which his sins gave him, in which his longing give him." Like Jonah, our story has many chapters. And in learning about Jonah, we learn about ourselves, which is ultimately what this day and the 10 days of the high holidays are all about. The book of Jonah opens with God saying, "Yonah kum lech et Nineveh." Jonah, go at once, right now, to Nineveh and proclaim judgment upon the city, for their wickedness has come before me. And what did Jonah do when he heard this? He ran, but he didn't just run a little bit, like a mile. He ran all the way down the coast to Jaffa. That's about 800 miles of running. Then he got on a ship going to Tarshish, which is about 2,000 more miles away in what's now modern-day Spain. So clearly, Jonah was a reluctant prophet. But in this regard, he wasn't alone. When God first spoke to the prophet Amos, Amos said, "I'm not a prophet, I'm a cattle breeder. I tend sycamore figs. When God first spoke to the prophet Jeremiah, Jeremiah says, I don't even know how to speak. I'm just a boy. At least these two prophets stayed put. Who could blame Jonah? He didn't want the job, and he wanted to hide from reality, which can be convenient, at least for a time. It reminds me of one of my favorite comic strips, Peanuts, by Charles Schulz. You might recall there was a young girl named Marcy. She was the one with the glasses who always called her friend Peppermint Patty Sir. Well, one day, they were both at school. They were sitting at their desk. Marcy was very bookish. She was listening intently to the teacher, while Peppermint Patty was confused. Being a good friend, Marcy looked back at Peppermint Patty, who was sitting behind her, and decided to help. She said, Peppermint Patty, the teacher's talking about a philosophy, sir. If you deny something exists, then it really doesn't exist. Peppermint Patty, hearing this, suddenly jumps up out of her chair, raises her hand, and says with a clear voice, Teacher, excuse me, sorry, ma'am, I have to say that the D- that you gave me doesn't really exist. In life, we need to accept reality for what it is, and it's not always easy. But once we do, we can choose whether to change it or adapt to it. If it's a challenge that we're facing or a problem with our health, financial stress, dealing with a difficult person, seeing a fork in the road, we can either change our reality or adapt to it, but only after we first admit that it's real. At first, Jonah didn't want to accept the reality that God chose him for a task. So he ran away to Jaffa, 800 miles, and took a ship to Tarshish, 2,000 more miles. As the sea began to rage, Jonah kept quiet. And not only that, he went down to the very bottom of the ship, away from all the other sailors. The sailors panicked. They started praying, but Jonah didn't say a word. The sailors then panicked more and started pointing fingers, but they didn't blame Jonah. So they cast lots repeatedly to see who would be thrown overboard to stop the sea raging. Every single time, the lot fell to Jonah. He got the shortest straw. Now, at this point, the sailors knew who was responsible for the big storm. They asked, Jonah, who are you? Jonah said, I'm a Hebrew. I worship the eternal God of heaven who made sea and land. Upon hearing this, the sailors were afraid and said, what have you done? Fear is a very good motivator. The question is, when we're fearful, how will we respond? Will we respond with fight or flight, or will we find our courage and stand our ground? It's no coincidence that this story is read on Yom Kippur, because believe it or not, the emotion of fear is baked into the DNA of the High Holy Days. The 10 days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are called the days of awe. In Hebrew, Yamim Noraim. The Hebrew word norah comes from the word yirah, which means fear. Now, as a marketing platform, calling these 10 days the days of fear was probably not a good move. So they used, the rabbis, a more uplifting translation for the word yirah, like awe as in awesome. Like Jacob, who wakes up from his dream with the ladder and says, Ma norah hamakom hazeh. How awesome and great is this place. On the connection between fear and awe, Rabbi Stephen Bob offers the following insight. Fear is our response to something threatening. We fear that our lives are spinning out of control. Yet the emotional state of the sailors in Jonah's story eventually moves from fear to awe as their situation shifts from chaos to resolution. And it's this process that we hope to mirror in our lives. Like the sailors and Jonah, we all face storms, some larger, some smaller. At some point in our relationship with our parents, kids, grandparents, friends, coworkers, we'll need to navigate and calm the waters. During these times, I've found that having a non-anxious presence is key. Some of the issues we face will be easier to solve than others. At times, there may not even be a clear solution to a problem, which is frustrating. Like how and when to reopen the temple during the pandemic. Nowadays, parents and grandparents are trying to navigate the best learning environment for their kids, and there's no one-size-fits-all or right answers to be had. Amidst the raging sea, the sailors cast their final lot. They threw Jonah overboard, and the sea calmed at once. A whale came along and swallowed him, where Jonah spent 3 days and nights, and he prayed. I would have prayed too. Then we learned the reason for the whale and the storm. God brought Jonah into this difficult situation in order to save him from sin, meaning Jonah was given the opportunity to seek forgiveness, and he took that chance. Jonah turned it around. He realized his mistake, he asked for forgiveness, and finally accepted his role as a prophet. Free from the belly of the whale, Jonah pledged to act differently, and God forgave him. Are we willing to forgive people who hurt us? And just as importantly, are we willing to forgive ourselves? This is what the days of awe are all about: self-reflection and turning inward. I'm not saying that every sin or mistake is forgivable. Far from it. There are certain things that are simply beyond the pale. But there are many examples where people have asked for a second chance. Athletes ask for second chances after using performance-enhancing drugs. Leaders ask for second chances after personal indiscretions. Spouses ask for second chances after going astray. Workers ask for second chances after making an error. Children and grandchildren ask for second, third, fourth, and fifth chances all the time. To be sure, not every situation's the same. Maybe it's a first-time offense, or maybe it's indicative of a pattern of behavior. All of these variables need to be weighed and balanced before making a final decision and choosing to respond. I think it's safe to say that all of us, myself included, have benefited from a second chance. When we make a mistake, and every single one of us does, we need to own it. We need to apologize and face reality. Hopefully, we'll have an opportunity to prove ourselves again, to show people we're capable of change. So, too, we want to be forgiven. There's no wonder, then, that Judaism looks all the way to the top for a model of forgiveness. Earlier in the service, when I took the Torah from the Ark, I read, and maybe you read along with me, the 13 attributes of God. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum V'Chanun. This powerful prayer speaks about character. God is compassionate and gracious, slow to anger, ready to forgive. These are words that can ground us and give us hope. It's very easy to remember the wrongs that have been done to us, but it takes true courage for us to open our heart, turn the page, and give somebody a second chance. And that's what the story of Jonah is all about: growth and the possibility of change. We can do better this year. Jonah was able to do it, and God forgave him. I'd like to think that others will give us a second chance too. Shana Tova. Some brief announcements before the concluding words of this service. Upcoming services today at 1:30 p.m. Gail Mahler and I will be leading the family service. afternoon tech study, which will be on Zoom. I'll be leading an interactive discussion about the new Avodah service in our prayer book, Mishkan HaNefesh. There'll be a Yizkor memorial service at 4:30 p.m. That's 4:30 p.m. for Yizkor, and then the Ne'ilah concluding service at 5:30 p.m. And I'd like to share an important note about legacy giving at our congregation. Throughout the High Holy Days, we're asked to reflect and look inward. It's a time to think about what's important to us, our family, our friends, and our community. At Temple Ahavat Shalom, we've established a very easy yet meaningful way for you to make a difference, to create a lasting legacy and ensure our synagogue thrives for generations to come. The Rabbi Klein Lador Vador Endowment Fund. A small part of this fund's income will be used each year for temple needs. The principal of the fund will be wisely invested to be a sustained source of income for our temple. We welcome any gifts now, as well as commitments for future gifts, to ensuring the long-term financial strength of TAS. A gift to our temple's endowment fund, the Rabbi Klein Endowment Fund, will convey to your family and community your commitment to Jewish life. It will express cherished values instilled by your parents and your grandparents. It will ensure that these Jewish traditions will continue. It will preserve the unique and special qualities of our synagogue community and establish a legacy to your Shem Tov, your good name, just like Zelda was talking about in her poem, L'kol ish yeshem, that each person has a name. This new year, 5781, I invite you to become a legacy member of our synagogue, providing a source of strength for our synagogue's future. Please contact the temple office for any additional information or to share your interest. And just a word of thanks while we're talking about the temple staff. In addition to Norman Kelton and Ed Marks, who was here, one of the Rosh Hashanah services, Elisa and Miranda from our temple office, they are helping out with the tech aspects, with the visual presentation of the tefillah, of the prayer book, as well as the camera work, and I thank you so much for your dedication and your willingness to serve our temple community. We'll continue now on page 312 in our prayer books. And this is an important prayer, a Jewish value actually, called Hakarat HaTov, which is recognizing the good that we do in our lives. Throughout the year, regard yourself as equally balanced between merit and sin. With one act, you can tip the balance for yourself and for the world. Every good deed makes a difference. And so it is written, a righteous person is the foundation of the world. For one who does good tips the balance of the scales and can save the world.
Shema, Shema, Koleinu, Shema, Koleinu. Shema, Shema, Koleinu, Shema, Koleinu. Adonai, Eloheinu, Shema Koleinu. Adonai, Eloheinu, Shema Koleinu.
Please join me on 317, Shema Koleinu, hear our call, Adonai Eloheinu. And may we hear yours in our apologies and confessions, in the meditations of our heart, in the accountings of our soul. Hear our call, and may we hear yours in words of counsel and consolation, in the silence of one who listens, in the strength of a hand that upholds. Hear our call, Adonai Eloheinu, as we strive to hear yours on this day of the heart, this day of repair and healing. Please rise for our concluding prayer, Hayom Te'am Seinu, on 318.
Hayom, 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 hayom. Hayom, 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 hayom te'am seinu, amen. Hayom, 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 hayom tivarchenu, amen. Hayom, 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 hayom tikadlenu, amen. Hayom, 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 tishenu latova, amen. Hayom, 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 tiktivenu chakim tova, amen. Hayom, 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 tishmeshiva atenu, amen. Hayom, 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 titmichenu b'mitzacheha, amen.
Strengthen us this day, bless us this day. This day exalt us. Show us kindness this day, and inscribe us this day for a life of goodness. This day hear our cry. Now and always support us with the strength of your righteousness, as we say, Amen. For the mitzvah of protecting life, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kichanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al shmirat hanefesh, for guarding our soul and our spirit, as we say, Amen. This concludes our Shacharit morning service.